dear Ziller, Rahman, Mr. Shaudi, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends from the Center for Governance Studies. I'm really honored to be with you this day in Dhaka in Bangladesh as a former president of Serbia. And I would like to share my experience with you and also to put some notices in terms of global trends and the situation we are facing with, which is full of challenges and unpredictabilities. I'm coming from Serbia. Serbia is a democracy nowadays, which is formed after fragmentation and dismantling of the former Yugoslavia, which was a well-known country in the international arena and a really historical friend of Bangladesh. We had a very good cooperation in the past, and I would like to remind yourself that Yugoslavia was supporting Bangladesh in many, many aspects, in terms of independence, in terms of development, in terms of becoming member of non-aligned movement, in terms of all aspects of development and the position of this beautiful country in the international arena. Dismantling of the former Yugoslavia was a process which started in 1990s and which had the end of in the beginning of 2000. In my political career, I was also vice president of the parliament of the Yugoslavia, which was formed in that time by two republics, Montenegro and Serbia. Before that, we had 6 republics: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Macedonia, Slovenia, Montenegro, and Serbia. But why I'm mentioning Yugoslavia right now? Because of the history, because of friendship, because of traditional relations between our countries and our people, but also trying to remind yourself and everyone that we are facing with unpredictability. We are facing with many challenges nowadays, and as a young man who has been living in Yugoslavia from the beginning of his life, I couldn't understand and I couldn't predict in that time that my country is going to have such a sad history, and we are going to be faced with many atrocities and many problems between very close people, the closest people in the world. Because in Yugoslavia, we're almost speaking same language, we understand each other, we have almost same genes, we have very few differences, very small differences between us, that are becoming a historical aspect very important and crucial, even which are bringing all of us sometimes in significant disputes, even war. I'm mentioning that because of having in mind my experience, my political experience, my experience from my life, childhood, earliest period of my life, and finally, I would like to underline once again that having all those experiences in mind, we have to be very careful regarding challenges the world is facing nowadays. Why I'm saying this? In 2016, I used to be member of the advisory board of some significant bank, European bank, which has a global impact. I was sitting in advisory board with very experienced people, much more experienced than me in that time. Former president of European Commission, former prime minister of Italy, former secretary general of NATO, high representative for foreign affairs and security policy in European Commission, former minister of foreign affairs of Germany, former minister of foreign affairs of Russia, president of Poland. And that was a few months before referendum in Great Britain about Brexit. Do you remember that Britain has been leaving European Union in 2020? That was formal decision, but they decided to do that in 2016 on referendum. But I'm mentioning this group of the people, extremely experienced people, with whom I was sharing my views about future of the world, and no one of them has been mentioning that Great Britain is going to leave European Union. Everyone was commenting that this is not possible. This conference happened only a few months before Brexit referendum. I was sitting with one of the group of the most experienced people in the global arena, but no one of them even didn't take into consideration the possibility of Great Britain to leave European Union. A few months after that, I was sitting on Concordia Summit in the United States. This is a global forum which is happening aside of the United Nations General Assembly, always in New York, every year. And I was talking with a representative of the State Department and the American political arena. And we were talking about elections in the United States. That was a situation with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Only one person mentioned the possibility that Donald Trump is going to win. Only one from the State Department. I talked with the really political elite from the United States. All of them has been counting on Hillary Clinton to become new president of the United States. Only one person have mentioned few months before elections that maybe Donald Trump is going to win. These two events, these two significant events, created huge impact, not only in European and United States policy, but in a global arena. I would like to bring right now in this forum also the atmosphere about war between Russia and Ukraine. Year before war happened, no one has been mentioning that war is going to be reality between Russia and Ukraine. No one was even mentioning that. Only a few months before aggression of Russia against Ukraine, some American, United States officials has been underlining that this is possible invasion from Russia to Ukraine. But I would like to remind yourself that no one in the international arena has been trying to prevent that conflict year before. I mean, we are not naive. The war is not coming overnight. And we can even take into consideration a lot of preparations for the aggression, the war, because of intelligence and that kind of communication information. But no one in the European Union, United States, and Russia has been trying to prevent war, to find a sophisticated solution for the dispute these countries are facing with. Nowadays, we are living in an atmosphere of the war. Nowadays, we are living in a horrible situation because this is not war between, only war between Russia and Ukraine. This is war between NATO and Russia on Ukrainian soil, and this is finally war between United States and Russia on Ukrainian soil, with mainly Ukrainian and Russian victims. Let me say also something which is really affecting every moral person in the world. On the two sides of the battle front are fighting people with a Russian identity, Ukrainian identity, but also people with the same identity. Some Ukrainians consider themselves as members of the Russian culture. Some Russians are considering themselves as the part of Ukrainian-Russian cultural aspect. They are fighting each other nowadays. The closest countries, closest people are fighting that are involved in the horrible war and horrible disputes with so many casualties and human victims. This is why I'm mentioning this in the context of the global arena and global politics. We are living in extremely unpredictable world. We are facing with unpredictability as a global phenomena which is bringing all of us in a very difficult situation. This is fantastic atmosphere. I'm trying to put kind of irony in my comment. A fantastic atmosphere for prejudices, hypocrisies, so many problems and the weakness of the human beings, and this is creating new reality in the global arena. What is the outcome of this war and the many disputes, Brexit, and the political development in many different countries and the global powers? Outcome is that we are living in a very fragmented world right now. What is the role of the United Nations right now? What about credibility of United Nations? Are United Nations able to solve problem in Ukraine? No way. United Nations are not credible enough. They don't have a capacity even to go into the situation to find solution. What about capability of United Nations nowadays to prevent a conflict in the future, which I understand as the main role of United Nations nowadays. Not only to send a mission, peacekeeping mission, but to prevent conflict, which is much more important than to find solution for peacekeeping missions in some countries that are facing with the disputes, with the kind of atrocities. We are really facing with the significant problems. From here, today I'm traveling in Morocco, where we have a summit of Alliance of Civilization of United Nations. That is going to be summit with attendance of Mr. Moratinos, who is running that institutions within the United Nations, but also Secretary General of the UN is going to participate on this forum. But I'm going to mention this. I'm going to deliver my speech and to participate on this forum by mentioning these problems I'm sharing with you, these views regarding global community I'm sharing with you on this conference. And this is, from my point of view, one of the most important and significant problems we are facing with. Unpredictability, vulnerability, and lack of capacity in terms of preventing conflicts and disputes. Those characteristics are significant problem we are facing with all together in the world nowadays. Everyone is mentioning energy crisis, issue of food security, specific problem with the access to the clean sanitations, which is creating so many victims among the mankind, human beings. Clean water, safe energy. But I think that main problem of the global arena and the mankind nowadays is lying in the nature of the human beings and vulnerability of the global arena. This is problem. This is huge problem. As the individuals, when we are approaching to the other individuals, we are bringing not only our goodwill, but we are also bringing also our prejudices, stereotypes, lack of trusting, and states are somehow behaving like human beings. But I don't know why no one was writing a book about psychology of the state. But I think we need a kind of analysis in that direction in order to prevent problems and to have a more predictability regarding world nowadays and the behavior of the states. We are talking always about behavior of the human beings, but behavior of the state, the general approach of the state to the general issue is one of the most significant problems we are facing with. This Bay of Bengal Conversation is very important in that respect, because we are not living only in the world. We are living also in our regions. Bangladesh is an extremely important country regarding regional cooperation. Zilur has been mentioning some of the regional cooperation aspect here. We have a significant regional cooperation right now in this area. BIMSTEC, ASEAN countries, I'm not going to mention others. You have so many, but you have so many people in this region. BIMSTEC is bringing together almost 2 billion people. 2 billion people. ASEAN countries, more than 800 million people. Everyone is talking about Europe. Europe is altogether 500 million people. But these regions are full of the people, human beings, citizens, problems that we have to solve and we have to predict in the future. In that respect, my participation on this conference is not only honor for me, but I would like also to share my views with you regarding future development and sustainability of development, which is very important for every country. I would like to mention some historical aspects. Many countries have been very happy with economic growth. I do not want to mention some regimes which were very, very successful in that respect, like, for example, Germany before Second World War. But they didn't care about social cohesion and the aspects of the foundation of society in a proper way. And after a few decades of economic development, they destroyed country and economic potential of the country, not only life of the human beings in Germany. Many political leaders are totally focused only on economic development. But social cohesion, foundation of society, is also important in terms of sustainability of development. This is why I think this is also extremely important, like economic development and technological development. This is why I think also for Bangladesh, which is a country with 170 million people, with a huge population, with a huge potential for development, very important to think in the future strategically about social cohesion and sustainability of this development. Everyone is talking about technological improvement nowadays, digitalization, you know. I'm sitting in the board of the telecommunication company. I'm advisor of even telecommunication company in Bangladesh, which is a VEON, international this is international telecommunication and digital institution, and I'm advising this company. This is for me very interesting and very important regarding technological development, to have a real view in terms of technological development and the impact of technological development on every single society nowadays. And I see that we are contributing with the Bengali link here in terms of digitalization and development in this beautiful country. But digitalization and technological development has to be in accordance with the society, with the human beings that are living within one society. I have a real concerns in terms of very fast digitalization, which is not taking into account limits of the human beings. This is something that we have to take into the consideration. But at the same time, Bangladesh and such countries cannot create very fast development that are crucially important in terms of rising living standard without digitalization and technological impact. I know that you created fantastic results in terms of growing of your textile industry, agricultural aspect, and that was a crucially important in terms of eradication of the poverty from Bangladesh, which was the main problem of this country and this society in the past. But at the same time, right now, you have to think about the other aspects of development, and which that can create very fast development and the very fast rising of the living standard of the ordinary people. This is very important. But at the same time, you have to think about impact of digitalization and the significance of the new technologies in this kind of development. And to take into the consideration social aspect and social cohesion as a very important foundation of the really sustainable development in the future. You are talking about social networks right now. Communication which is without any limits right now. Everyone can participate on social networks, Twitter, Facebook, and other the global phenomena nowadays, TikTok and something like this. But this kind of communication can be sometimes very dangerous, especially for young population, for young people. This is a country with a very young population. India, all ASEAN countries, all countries that exist in Bengal Bay. We have to think about that in the future. Let me come back on one issue which is extremely important regarding global community in the future. I mentioned unpredictability. I mentioned former Yugoslavia, Brexit, the political elections in different countries, technological impact on political elections, technological impact on democracy. And finally, we have to understand everything what was characterizing the world in the past is not going to exist in the future, in the recent future anymore. Democracy in terms of general aspect, which was an outcome of the liberal democracy and philosophy which created the rules after Second World War, is not going to be in such form like it was in the past few decades. We are facing with the changes. And those changes are very fast. And those changes are sometimes very powerful. But accommodation of those kind of changes is something that I'm thinking about very often. How we are going to create better adaptability in terms of changes and the impact of the changes. This is something that we have to take into consideration seriously. At the same time, politics is mainly about regulation of the interests of the people in a peaceful way. Politics is about rules. Politics is about legal system. Politics is about relations between national groups, countries, individuals. But politics in the form like it was is not going to exist anymore in the future because of changes we are facing with. But at the same time, we have to remind ourselves that politics is extremely sensitive. And sometimes when we think that some moves, some decisions are not going to create huge impact in the global arena, when we are underestimating kind of decisions that are happening in the politics, in the global arena, in the different states, are creating huge impact on the future of the world. Now I'm coming to Yugoslavia and Serbia, taking into account the problem of Ukraine, which is affecting every country. Serbia has been facing with the problem of territorial integrity after war that happened in the former Yugoslavia. Maybe you remember the problem of Kosovo. Kosovo was a dispute between Albanians and Serbs for years. But unfortunately, everyone who had the power on Kosovo made atrocities, Serbs or Albanians. But finally, we've been facing with a war in 1999. Serbia was attacked by NATO without decision of Security Council of United Nations. That was violation of international law. Unfortunately, I have to say this. At the same time, after war that happened, almost 1 decade after that, some of the Western countries supported the process of creating Kosovo independence. And they supported declaration of independence, which was delivered by Albanian politicians from Pristina. Why am I mentioning this right now? Trying to explain to you that some the decisions that are not looking extremely important in the period of time when they are happening are creating huge impact on the global arena and global politics nowadays. The first sentence that Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin has been launching on his meeting with Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of United Nations, on this famous meeting that happened a few months ago, was if that was possible with Kosovo, to create independency from the sovereign state, which is member state of United Nations, like Serbia. This is also possible for Crimea, Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, Zaporozhye. That is possible also for South Ossetia and Abkhazia in Georgia. What I would like to explain here on this conference once again. We have to live under kind of rules and the principles. If we are violating rules and principles, we don't know what is going to be impact of that violation in the future. Nowadays, we are facing with a problem in Ukraine. Ukraine has a huge impact on the global economy today. Not only in terms of food security, you know, some countries are facing with a problem because they cannot buy the wheat from Ukraine anymore. For example, Egypt, which is a main importer of wheat in the world nowadays, with 110 million people, which is also a security problem. If you cannot provide the food for such a big country, this is creating security issue in this country. If some countries are creating problems, like Russia, which recognize independence of the Ukrainian provinces which I mentioned right now, this is creating not only impact in bilateral relations in terms of the people that are living in these zones of Ukraine nowadays. This is creating impact on food security. This is creating impact on energy security. This is creating impact on global arena in a very, very specific way. This is why I would like to mention that we are living in an interconnected world. And we have to be very careful with the kind of decision that are looking very simple when some big states are creating kind of decision. When I talked with my friends from the United States in that time, I was the president of Serbia in 2008, when they supported Kosovo independence. I was trying to explain to them that after this decision, we are going to live in a much more dangerous world in the future. Why I'm saying this? Today, after what happened on Kosovo with Serbia, and 10 years after that, 15 years after that, with Ukraine, every country which is facing with a kind of territorial dispute, with minority which is asking independence, more autonomy, is facing with a similar problem. Because we have a precedent which is creating domino effect, which is opening Pandora box. Look, Africa nowadays. What about borders in Africa after colonialism? This is geometry, which is not taking into consideration differences of the people. Even families are living on two sides of the borders, not ethnic and religious groups. What if, for example, in Africa, someone is going to open this issue? I'm mentioning this as a kind of challenge we are facing with, because we are, as politicians, also human beings that are not taking the consideration seriously every possible negative aspect of our decision nowadays and the future. This country is a fantastic country with a huge potential. My country has less than 7 million people nowadays. We are losing population because of negative birth rate. This country has 170 million people. This is the biggest potential of this country. As a psychologist, I know that every country, every national group has 5% of very talented people. Very talented people, 5%. Can you imagine how many talented people you have in Bangladesh nowadays? 5% of 170 million people. It's a fantastic potential for development. I don't think this is gas, this is agriculture, this is energy, this is potential of human beings. I do not want to mention the phenomenon of human resources, because resources we have to connect with the energy, with the fuel, gas, and something like this. But human beings, fantastic potential. Now I'm talking about Bangladesh. I'm talking about politics in Bangladesh. What is the main aspect of development in the future? Human beings, extremely talented people, but not only extremely talented people, everyone. This is education. In education, this country has to invest. Who is investing in education systematically right now? In the real aspect of education, in the aspects of education that are going to create new technological and economic development, this country has a future now. Overpopulation is a problem of the world. We are living in the world with 8 billion people. From few weeks ago, days ago, that was declared that we are living in the world with 8 billion people. But you have 170 million people. Extremely talented people are also living in Bangladesh. Investment in education, in the new technological aspect, in software engineering, in this kind of engineering, engineering in agriculture, in engineering in the construction business, engineering in politics also. This is why this institution is also very important. Is a huge potential for Bangladesh and such a countries and the region. Magnitude of the world is moving from the west, from the Europe and United States to overseas. Here is going to be center of the global politics in the future. This part of the world is going to be very, very important. And this is why I have to insist on that. You have a huge potential in terms of textile industry, okay? But with the textile industry, you can do a lot in terms of eradication of the poverty. But nowadays we are talking not only about eradication of the poverty, we are talking about fast development of this country. This is only possible in terms of investment in education and creating new technological and economic aspect of development of this country in the recent future. Yes, telecommunications are also very important, but not only telecommunication. I'm not talking only about ICT. I'm talking about new technological aspect and new knowledge and new experience in every part of economy. You can bring new technologies in agriculture, about water management. Without efficient water management, you cannot create better potential for the country. Water management is crucially important in terms of developing of agriculture. But why I'm mentioning this? Even if some countries in investing in education, you have to have a better regional cooperation. You cannot have a good and sufficient water management only in Bangladesh. You have to have a water management cooperation in the region with India, with Nepal, with other countries. You have to have a better energy cooperation in terms of using in a proper way energy resources, gas and oil. You have to talk and to think about environment protection. You have here a huge problem with the climate changes and the population which is affected because of climate change. You have a very specific phenomena of the refugees and that are outcome of the climate changes, because Bangladesh is a country which is facing with significant problems in that respect. This is why we have to have the context and the vision, which is a very wide vision of the development of the country in the future. Bangladesh is a country with a fantastic potential to be one of the crucial global players in the future. But this depends also on your leadership, of the society which you are going to create in the future, cohesion, social cohesion, sustainable development, investment in the right processes and the right fields. Education is crucially important. Education is also going to solve problems with the prejudices, stereotypes, with many problems human beings are facing with. And this is why I'm finishing my speech with the significance of education, trying to explain to you something that you know already, but to underline once again what is very important regarding future. I'm summarizing. We are living in an unpredictable world. We are living in a world with so many problems. We are living in a world in which we are involved in a dispute between nations and the countries and the military blocs. But also we are facing with the problem of climate changes. Earth is in a very dangerous situation. We are living in a bigger world in terms of population, but in the smaller world in terms of vulnerability and interconnection. In that respect, countries like Bangladesh, with a huge population, are having huge significance for the future, not only of the people living here, but of the world in general. Thank you very much for your attention.